Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. You guessed it, we're working on more children's book, as you can probably tell from the title of this video. We have lots of work to get done still. We're working on the spread, so I thought I'd take you along while I draw and have a Q&A. I sent out a prompt on Instagram and on YouTube to ask me some questions about my life as an artist, small business things, literally anything. I'm an open book. I want to answer all the questions you guys have. I sent that out. I haven't checked if I gotten any comments or questions yet as I'm recording this. Hopefully we get some. If not, that's okay. I have a lot to yap about. There will be no shortage of yapping in this video. Like I said, I have a lot of drawing that I have to get through, so I would love to chat about the book and where I'm going to take it and a little bit more of my process, because I think from last video I have a pretty good idea how I want my process of each page to go and how I think will work best for me. Where we left off last week, at the end of the video you saw a little sneak peek of me starting the final spread, and I have gotten it up to a point where it can now be scanned and worked on digitally, adding really fine details, touching up the oil pastel, and laying out the text and all that stuff. I left the character expressions and some details on the bookshelf so that I could work on those digitally. I think that is gonna be easiest for me. So this video, maybe next week's video too, will be focusing on just getting the oil pastels down on paper for these spreads, and then after that we're moving to digitally. And I think this is a great time to just yap and talk about the book because it's a lot of drawing on my part, and usually while I'm drawing I don't talk to the camera because I'm focusing on drawing, and that takes like a lot of my focus. That's why I put that prompt out there. If you want to comment on this video, any questions, please feel free. I'd love to answer them in next week's video. But yeah, it's gonna be a lot of drawing for now and a lot of yapping, and I think it'll be fun. And I hope you guys can draw along with me, work along with me, maybe grab a tea, and yeah, let's get to work. Okay, voiceover time. This is voiceover Janine. Like I said, we have a lot to yap about. So first things first, I wanted to talk about the book for those who may be new here or new to the channel and this is your first video. I am an illustrator and artist. I specialized in children's and editorial illustrations when I was in college. Last year after I graduated, I started working on a children's book idea that I had, and I sort of dropped it as my small business took off and, you know, life happened. And then this year we're finally picking it back up and we're finishing it. So where we are right now is that we have a manuscript, we have our pagination, which is all the rough sketches laying out each spread for the book, and we have some final rendered drawing sketches that go into a little bit more detail before I finalize it. And how I'm illustrating this book is mostly traditional. I wanted to illustrate it in oil pastel. That has been my favorite medium since last year. I really got into it and I absolutely love it, and I thought I could take my art style and put it into this book. So I say it's mostly being done traditional. However, I am doing a little bit of digital illustration with it as well, just those nitty-gritty details and touching it up and making sure it looks good. So sort of like a mix between traditional and digital, but mostly traditional. So where we are right now is I am going spread by spread and printing out the spreads to scale. I sort of enlarged the sketches so that I could work on bigger paper with oil pastel and get into more details. Even if it's not the nitty-gritty details, it's easier to work at a large scale, especially with a medium like oil pastel that can get very nubby and messy. So I'm going spread by spread, blowing up each image at a larger scale, printing them out, and then transferring them to my paper to then I trace over my digital sketch onto the bigger paper so that I can go in with oil pastels. Now each spread looks unfinished. So I did my first spread and I maybe did about 80% of it. It still needs to be scanned in and then worked on digitally. However, I don't absolutely love the colors, so I wanted to move on, and I went into an easier spread, and then I go into another spread later on that I really love, and it's what makes me want to change the first spread a little bit. But I feel like that's sort of the process of illustrating a book, and especially for my first time, I'm still getting into the groove of things. Even though I've done a lot prior to doing the final illustrations, there still is so much trial and error with the oil pastels, because I can do all the colorways I want on my iPad, and then it comes to the real thing and I don't love it. We'll see. I decided to take a break from the first spread. It is 90% done. I can manipulate the colors digitally. That's why I'm not gonna redo this one yet unless I really hate it. So I moved on, and the next spread, which is the one I'm working on right now, it's a couple pages into the book. I'm working on spot illustrations for the spread where Alder asks if it's the really yummy snacks that make the picnic totally awesome. So I'm working on that right now. I wanted a little bit of a break. I love drawing food. It's easy for me. It's fun. That's what we're doing here. And then later in the video, we move on to another page in the book, which is the one that comes after the first spread that I worked on. Because we're just drawing, I thought it would be a fun time to do a Q&A. Like I mentioned earlier, I asked on Instagram if anyone had any questions, and a few of you thankfully replied. I'm so happy that I got a few questions. And I also made a post on YouTube for the very first time. I don't really know how posts work on YouTube. I never see posts from the people that I'm subscribed to on YouTube. I can only see them if I go and search for them on their profile. So I'm not sure if it even came up. I think it's hidden. I don't know. Let me know if you have seen it at all. That being said, let's get into the Q&A, shall we? So I got a few of you ask me if I listen to music or watch TV while I draw, and if so, what's my go-to? I think this is such a fun question. Yeah, the answer is yes. I definitely listen to music and audiobooks, and sometimes I'll watch TV when I draw. I find I lean towards audiobooks and music a bit more than watching something, because I find that can be way more distracting than just listening to something. I feel like I'm always actually watching the video instead of actually doing my drawing. However, I do occasionally, if I am drawing or if what I'm working on doesn't require a whole bunch of my focus, I will put on one of my comfort shows, which is New Girl or Bob's Burgers. I feel like those are my go-to comfort shows because I've seen the whole series already, so I don't always have to pay attention and watch it in order for me to understand what's happening. So those are my two go-tos. However, I 90% of the time I'm either listening to music or an audiobook. And for the music, I listen to just about everything. My recent music obsessions have been the Lathams, Girl in Red, and Love Cat. Those three artists/bands have been my go-to music listening for the past little while. And currently my audiobook is Ninth House. I just started listening to that, so I don't have any thoughts on it yet, but I would love recommendations. I always love hearing what people listen to, watch, whatever. So please let me know, what is your favorite book, song, or show at the moment? I'd love to know. The next question, I get asked this a bunch, and that is if I am an artist full time. And the answer is yes. I am so grateful to be in the position of being able to pursue and support myself with my creative career. For those curious, most of my income is from running my small business. So this is running my online shop where I get to sell my artwork as prints, as greeting cards and stickers, sometimes original art, and I have a few smaller shops as well with Redbubble, Imprint, and Spoonflower. I also work with a few stores here in Toronto, and I have my art within those stores and I sell from them as well. I also attend markets, so that's another portion of my income there is from selling at in-person events. And I will also occasionally work with clients to produce work, to do commissions and things like that. So I am very fortunate that I am able to do this full time and really put my all into this, and it is truly a dream come true to be able to do this every day and call it my career. And I don't know where I would be without the support from so many people in my life, and I'm very, very grateful. And I'm gonna get all gushy because I'm so grateful for all the support. This leads me into my next question. Would I recommend someone who wants to be a full-time artist get a more formal education or be self-taught? And I think this is a great question because there's really no right answer. It is so dependent on the individual and how they like to learn, whether they like a more structured class with peers and assignments and that class format of holding yourself accountable to your professors and your teachers and your classmates, or if you want to be self-taught and are maybe a little bit more disciplined to teach yourself what you want to learn. Maybe you want to be a painter or a clay artist or get into digital art. So you can really focus on that skill and really perfect one of those skills. Whereas if you were maybe to get a more formal education, it would teach you a lot of everything or a little bit of everything instead of that like maybe one thing that you'd like to get into and pursue. So it really does depend on what you want to get out of being an artist. From my experience, I did attend college. I attended college for art fundamentals and then I branched into illustration. Going into college, I knew I wanted to pursue art and pursue a more creative career coming from a very science background. I just didn't really know where I wanted to take it. So I found that going to college and being introduced to so many different facets and branches of the art industry really helped hone my wants and my desires as an artist. And it really opened my eyes to a lot of the creative careers and creative paths that you can take as an artist that I'm not sure I would have recognized if I hadn't gone to school, if that makes sense. I'm also someone who thrives under pressure and thrives with a schedule and a course load. I really thrive in that environment, having peers and professors and having that community. So I really wanted that, and I got to meet a lot of really amazing people when I went to college, a lot of people that were like-minded, that were also coming from different career paths to pursue art, which was really cool and very encouraging that we were sort of all in this together, changing our career paths. But that is solely my experience. I'm not sure how my career would have turned out if I hadn't gone to college and I pursued a more self-taught route, but I can definitely say there are so many amazing resources out there for artists. There are YouTube videos, there are workshops, there are like individual classes, there's Skillshare, there's so much out there to be self-taught that it is so doable and amazing. And that way you can really focus, like I said, on one topic that you want to focus on, that you want to perfect. And if you are someone maybe who doesn't know what they want to get out of being a full-time artist or being an artist, I would highly recommend taking even just one class, a couple classes, going to college, what have you. I think it really opens your eyes to all the different possibilities that you can pursue with a creative career. But I totally do not think it's necessary to go to college and then be a full-time artist. Okay, the next question is, what strategies do you employ to avoid/manage the stresses of running your own business? This is such a good question, and it's so important to talk about. Short answer, being really organized and having really strong time management is the best way I can say that I manage my small business. The super long nitty-gritty answer is, well, being organized and really organizing out what you want your day-to-day to be, setting goals for yourself, setting goals short-term, long-term, and making sure you hit those beats and planning out what you want to achieve and how you want to achieve it. I think outside of running your business, I think having a really healthy work-life balance helps with running your business, because if you feel fulfilled outside and within your career, it'll ultimately lead to a less stressful work life. There will always be times that work is going to be stressful, like meeting deadlines and finding work, meeting your goals and all that stuff. There are definitely times that is going to be stressful, but I find if you organize to the best of your ability and really manage your time well, it'll help alleviate so much stress and hold yourself accountable. So, in the way I organize my business is through Notion, which is not sponsored. I talk about this in my very first video, how I've planned my whole life on Notion, and I really did. I planned my whole business is on Notion. It's organized down to my content creation, running my business, my website, all my shops, my commissions, everything, my wholesaling, business finances, all that stuff I have on my Notion, and I've created a whole dashboard for myself for that. And I even created a schedule for myself, a Monday to Friday schedule, all the work that I need to get done on those days and time blocking out where I need to. So that is definitely a really big way that helps alleviate my stress, is when I can see on paper or on the screen, what have you, what I'm doing when, and really having a goal for what I'm doing. I think also it is important to have a healthy work-life balance. You need to have that healthy balance of being social and connecting with your friends and connecting with yourself and taking care of yourself. What I used to do in college was pull all-nighters every day to meet deadlines and to get all my projects together, and it was just so unhealthy for me. I wasn't getting enough sleep, I wasn't eating well, I wasn't socializing with my friends, and that all of those are very essential to help alleviate stress with work. And another good thing is to have hobbies. This is especially if you are in the creative industry and run your own art business, is to have hobbies outside of your work where you can fulfill your creativeness without having too much pressure put on you to really succeed. I'll use myself as an example. I am an illustrator / artist, and I mostly use oil pastel. I use traditional media to create greeting cards and art prints and stickers and all that stuff. Outside of work, I love to sew, I love to play cozy games, I love to cook, I love to do other things that are creative that's outside of my work, so that there's less pressure. So that helped a lot, and that helps with not overdoing yourself, because you're able to be creative and then come back to your work and feel really fulfilled, if that makes sense. The main thing I think to take away from this is really to stay organized and set goals for myself and make sure I have a very healthy work-life balance. So I hope that answered that sufficiently. I'm not sure, but organizing, time management, having hobbies outside of your work, I guess, are my 3 main takeaways from that rambling. Another question, this one's a light one, but I may ramble again, is if I prefer making stickers, prints, or greeting cards. And the very not satisfying answer is I love making them all almost equally. But if I had to pick one, I do love making greeting cards. I think brainstorming phrases for greeting cards and then also designing an illustration to pair with that is some of my favorite work. It's so fun, and they are my best-selling items in my shop, so it's very encouraging to make them from that standpoint. From a technical standpoint, the easiest thing for me to make are prints, because after the designing process, not much goes into it besides printing them out and then trimming them to size. Whereas stickers, I cut all by hand, and greeting cards, I have begun to to make all of those by hand as well, and where I will cut them, fold them, and that stuff, and package them with the envelopes and stuff like that. But this question isn't about the easiest, it's about which one I prefer to make, and I honestly love making greeting cards. I think scoring them is so satisfying, folding and cutting them is so satisfying, so I'm gonna go with that one, greeting cards. And the next one is, have I ever experienced a creative block and how did you overcome it? And I think this is a really important topic to talk about, because as an artist, you can be faced with creative block. It happens to the best of us. It happens when we are working for work and less so creatively. So when you're starting to think of your creation as a job, or it feels like a job, I find from my experience that's sort of when the creative block can come, because you want to make good art and you care so much about what it looks like that you can feel stuck in completing what you want to. I find especially I have a vision of what I want my art to look like, and maybe that is above my skill level, so then that can create a creative block as well. So yes, I've definitely felt a creative block. It can be very stressful. What I do, and it sounds easier than it is just to draw anything. So open up a sketchbook and just draw literally anything, and it doesn't have to be good. And if you go in with the intention of making bad art, I think that really helps, because then you're like, oh, what if I tried this? You don't even have to show anyone. I have tons of sketchbooks that I don't think I would ever show anyone, because there's just so much bad art in there, but it has helped me create what I do today. And I think just creating at all is super important. We have to recognize that not everything is going to look fantastic all the time, and bad art is good art. I'll stand by that. So yes, I definitely have experienced creative block. Unfortunately, I was not able to get to every single one of the questions. I'm so grateful that you guys reached out with those. It was so helpful, and I love chatting about this. I am gonna hold on to the questions that I didn't answer for maybe another video, because there are some topics that I would love to chat about. But that is all that I have for you for this week. We didn't quite finish this spread. I know it's not a super satisfying ending art-wise, but maybe there was something in there from the Q&A that you were able to take away from. Thank you so much for watching. We're still gonna be pumping away drawing next week, but next video I'm actually preparing for another restock for one of the stores that I am a part of here in Toronto, so I might make a video about that and have a studio vlog where it's maybe not solely the children's book that we're working on, and it'll include some of my other artists and small business duties that I have to take care of. Like I said, that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.